and welcome to Darrell Miller Live here on the ZNS Radio and Television Networks. We are streaming all over the world at www.znsbahamas.com. Let us pray. Our God and our Father, hallowed be thy name. Once again, we come humbly before your throne of grace and mercy, the way we do every morning and every night. We come to thank you for the many, many blessings that you continue to shower upon us. We thank you for the rain and for the sunshine and for these beautiful islands with which you have blessed us, these islands that have become the envy of the world. Oh God, we pray that you would continue to shower us with your blessings. We pray for vision, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding so that we can deal with the many, many challenges that confront us. Today, as we conduct this show, guide our discussion and control our tongues. We pray for those who are bereaved because of the loss of loved ones, those who are sick and shut in and teetering on the brink of poverty. Oh God, comfort them, uplift them in this their time of need. We thank you for your assurance that absolutely no weapons formed against us shall prosper. And we thank you for your Son, Jesus. Amen. Whoever is trying to reach me by telephone, please desist until 1 o'clock. We are very pleased to have as our guests today persons who will further articulate the need and the time frame for national health insurance in the Bahamas. We are welcoming back from yesterday the project manager who has been seconded to the office of the Prime Minister, the Deputy Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Dellon Brennen. Welcome back.
Thank you very much, sir.
And we're going to hear first from the Permanent Secretary in the office of the Prime Minister, Mr. Peter DeVoe Isaacs. Welcome to the show.
Welcome, Dow, and welcome to your wide listening audience.
Permanent secretaries normally do not appear on these shows. They kind of leave that to the ministers. But you are here because of the importance of what we are dealing with today, the National Health Insurance Plan, universal health coverage. First of all, I want to be clear as to who will administer this. Who will be in charge? Will it be the politicians?
Absolutely not, Dow. A National Health Insurance Authority is being established for the purpose of administering the National Health Plan, National Health Insurance Plan. The politicians have indicated their resolve to have this matter run professionally and by competent persons in the Bahamian, either civil service or persons who are brought from outside to assist us in implementing this plan. So the quick answer to your question is no, it is not a politicians-driven initiative at all.
So explain then the, if I can use this word, corporate structure.
The National Health Insurance Authority Um, and you would have heard that the cabinet just recently endorsed the National Health Insurance Act, or the bill that will be prepared and be available for consultation by stakeholders, external stakeholders. But the NHIA, National Health Insurance Authority, is the structure, the key structure in administering the plan. It will be comprised of a chairman, and we've heard indications of who that chairman will be.
Is that Jimmy Campbell?
That is the indication we've heard, yes. But you, of course, you can invite Mr. Campbell on your show if you wish for him to speak to that. But it will be headed by a chairman, and there will be a board of 10 persons, 9 persons in addition to the chairman. Some of these things are still being worked out, whether the board will be comprised of or composed of 10 members or it will be less. These are some of the decisions that are still being made when we go back to cabinet with the final draft of the act. But the corporate body will be the National Health Insurance Authority.
And so, this is like, let's use ZNS for an example. We are a government corporation. Would National Health Insurance Authority be a government corporation?
That exactly has not been decided, but the National Health Insurance Authority will be an autonomous body. There will be a minister who would have responsibility for national health insurance, but this will be run by a board and a chairman. The minister would have, as in other government corporations, as in the Broadcasting Corporation, other corporations, a minister with responsibility to the government for the operations of the.
A better example then might be the National Insurance Board.
Yes, yes, yes.
And so, who will be the managing day-to-day director?
There will be a CEO. There will be a chief executive officer who will report to the board, of which the chairman will be the head of that board. But there will be a chief executive officer. Be run just like any other corporation.
As I was thinking about this last night, it occurred to me that by doing this, putting a corporate structure on the delivery, I'm not sure if it's actually the delivery of healthcare, on the management, that it might open the gate for litigation. Are you following me?
Yeah, I am. And if litigation, even if it were a government corporate, even if it were a government institution, purely and simple, they would still be open to litigation if litigation arises. But we're not concerned about that, and we will have the necessary corporate structures in place to deal with that also. Mm-hmm. Just as in any other corporation that you have, we'll have the structures to address any concerns regarding whether or not we will be sued for this, that, or the other. It will be a corporate seal.
Do you think then that incidences of malpractice will be brought more to the fore under this kind of a structure?
I'm not sure, and perhaps Dr. Brennen could even chime in on that. I'm not sure if that will happen, and that's it could very well be, but we're entering the realm of speculation, and I don't know.
Dr. Brennen?
I would venture to support the PS's response to that. We have no indication one way or the other whether there would be an increase in malpractice. I think what we are aiming to do through national health insurance is actually raise the standard of care such that we can assure the Bahamian people, not just individuals who are amongst the privileged, but we want everyone to have access to a level of comprehensive high-level services such that they are getting the type of care that they need and that will deliver them into a healthier state. So ideally, that will actually reduce the amount of exposure to high-risk medical procedures and things of the like that would risk malpractice at that point. So we're actually looking to reduce that, but to say what will actually happen is a very difficult position.
Well, I guess what I mean is, right now, the perception is that the health care we receive from the government or through the government is free. That's the perception. I know there's a cost.
Absolutely.
But the perception is it's free. If you are now asking me to pay, I guess by the end of the year I'll have to pay. Then I have more fodder to sue you.
It is interesting that the discussion is centering on suing as opposed to delivering health care and improving the level of health services in the country. Darrell, the important thing that I think we want to leave with you and your audience is that it is literally mandatory that government intercede in this discussion about healthcare in the Bahamas. We are among the most unhealthy people in the Caribbean and perhaps in the world. Okay? Now, I'm not disregarding the concern about malpractice suits and this, that, and the other. I'm just trying to say that those things will come and we will deal with those matters if they do. But Bahamians have to begin to appreciate that we are very unhealthy. We have the highest incidence of prevalence of diabetes in the world. In the world, Darrell. Okay? We are amongst the 5th most overweight country in the world, and people in the world. The compelling data that we have with health statistics indicate that there must be an intervention. N.H.I is just one component, just one strategy to assist in bringing health care to the Bahamas. The matters that you talk about with regards to cost, critically important, but Bahamians must begin to appreciate that someone has to pay for the unhealthy conditions that occur in our country.
We're paying now.
We're paying now. We're paying now. A lot of it is
we're paying. I imagine what national health insurance will do is designate the pay.
Yeah, that's correct.
So rather than my taxes going into one big consolidated fund, I will be charged a specific tax that goes directly to the delivery of health care.
And that is down the road, Darrell. And that has to be determined. The amount of taxation will have to be determined after actuarial studies indicate that cost, and more importantly, after Bahamians have seen that the government and the private sector are determined to improve the levels of health in the country. And that's either through health system strengthening, which Dr. Brennen can talk about. Bahamians need to see that this is a serious initiative. So when they go to the clinics, for example, they need to see that something has changed, that they're not standing on lines, waiting for a long time to get an appointment and then having to come back later. So when they go to Fleming Street or Elizabeth Estates Clinic, they need to see the change. They need to see the change at PMH. but not only in the government system, They need to see the change throughout the country. Health is not an issue that can be compartmentalized as we've been doing it, private and public. Is the health of our country perhaps the most serious, not perhaps, it is the most serious issue that affects us all. Okay, so I think Bahamians, once they see the improvements that we're talking about, once they see the improvements in the health systems that are available in the public system and the private sector, I think Bahamians, and this is what our surveys have indicated, that they are not averse to paying for something that will help them. Okay, but we're ahead of the story. Because in the first phase...
But that's the story people want to hear. The bottom line and all of this discussion for many people is, how much will I pay?
Well, in the first stage, and Dr. Brennen, I know, spoke about this before, N.H.I. is being rolled out in phases. The first phase is the registration, okay? The second phase will be the actual delivery of primary health care. And that is scheduled to begin in April. But that is obviously contingent on registration itself. But the primary health care services will be free. There's already budgeted. Okay, so the Bahamians will not see any impact on their pocketbooks in this first phase. The first phase can very well last longer than 3 months or 4 months. As I said, it has to be, as we go along, we have to be guided by the actuarial advice that we get and the information that we get on how the system is performing. Okay, so I think the big elephant in the room is that, and this is what the media has focused on, and also, what's it going to cost? Okay, and that's a discussion that obviously is of great importance, but we don't want you to miss the real reason for the intervention, and that is to deal with some of those indications that I mentioned earlier. Now, the government, the Prime Minister said that we really don't wish, or the government doesn't wish to disrupt the Bahamian economy as a result of rolling out N.H.I. And clearly the government, the N.H.I. in any country where universal health coverage has been rolled out has been a costly initiative. But no country in the world has moved away from N.H.I. or universal health coverage. Britain started this thing in 1948. They're tweaking the system as they go along. Okay, but you try to have a British government roll back N.H.I. and see what happens. The same thing in Canada. They would tweak it, they would change it, they would remodel it, but it is something, the care of your people is a fundamental initiative that all governments pursue. Dellon,
Well, before we go to Dr. Brennen, I just wanted you to speak a little bit more to the legislation. You said Cabinet met yesterday.
No, I didn't say yesterday. Last week.
Okay.
Not on N.H.I. Cabinet met last week on N.H.I.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is our understanding that the bill, the proposed law, is ready to be presented, I guess, to Parliament first, or to stakeholders first.
It will go to stakeholders first, yes. And there will be an opportunity for the public to have a chance to comment on the bill before it goes to Parliament.
What's in it? Can you give me a copy? I'm a stakeholder.
When we get to the bill is now being revised by the Law Reform Commission, given some of the comments that were made by by cabinet. When that revision is finished, I'll be more than happy to provide you and your your colleagues in the media with a copy of it.
That's going to be this week?
I imagine it will be probably early next week. We just got back from cabinet last week, and there was a holiday, so the Law Reform Commission, under the direction of the Director of Legal Affairs, is busy trying to make the revisions to the legislation, to the draft legislation, based on comments made from cabinet, and also from comments that we would have gleaned over the period of time, and then we're going to go back to cabinet once we finish with that.
So it's going to be a while yet before it gets to Parliament.
No, well, I don't know. We were given 2 weeks to get back to cabinet, and 2 weeks that's from last week, Tuesday. Do you remember the exact date?
29th, maybe.
Yeah, we're gonna move with this. It's a very comprehensive piece of legislation. We would prefer to have the DLA or the Law Reform Commission come and share the details of it with you when they're finished with the revision, and I have no difficulty with doing that. This process is not an intransparent process. Once we've gotten to the point where we have had the internal stakeholders comment on the bill, we will make it available to the public. Okay?
Insurance companies are a little upset. Have you met with them?
We've met with the insurance, the BIA on several occasions.
What are they upset about?
But you should speak with them specifically.
But they told you.
Yeah, but you asking me
Yes.
to tell you what they
What
upset.
did they tell you they are upset about?
Well, Dal, I'm not good. They have a proposal, a counter proposal, where the insurance industry itself would take care of what the rollout of N.H.I. I think you should speak with the Insurance Association itself so they can tell you exactly what their proposal is. I don't want to be second-handedly talking about what they told us. That's a meeting we have had those consultations with them on several occasions, not one or two. And these consultations began before I came on board.
They have told me they're concerned that the insurance industry, which is the third largest industry in the Bahamas, may contract as a result of the introduction of a government-sponsored national health insurance plan, and therefore jobs may be lost within the industry. Is that your understanding as well?
My understanding of what they've said?
Right.
Yeah, I've heard that, yes.
And how do you counter that?
I don't counter it. It's also a degree of speculation that they're saying that the jobs will contract. We would wish for the insurance companies and the organizations to work with us to make that not happen. But there may be some realignment in all stakeholder industries in the country as a result of this. But I remember Dr. Roberts, making a comment in the meeting not too long ago, where he basically said, look, all of us need to look at this whole question of N.H.I. as an opportunity also for us. And the insurance companies, as in the health industry, need to really find a way to benefit from this new initiative, which is designed to help our people. So I don't know what's going to happen in the insurance industry. They have claimed that there will be some jobs lost, and I'm not going to comment on that because I don't know. I do know one thing though, that it is essential that all sectors of our economy and all constituencies in our society need to understand that this is a national initiative, and it will have far-reaching impact on our society.
So this phase, Dr. Dellon Brennen,
Yes, sir.
is registration.
Yes, sir.
And at lunch yesterday, I was so happy to have had someone from the National Insurance Board clarify and amplify the fact that a national insurance card
That's right.
is available to everyone
Yes, sir.
who are legally resident in the Bahamas. But the smart card may not be given to everyone.
Right.
Is that your understanding of what
Right.
you're saying?
Remember our discussion yesterday centered around the fact that right now, children who are under the age of 14 are at present not getting a smart card. But as N.H.I rolls forward, we are engaged in the conversation with NIB such that we would like it, and hopefully they will be able to accommodate children also getting that smart card so that everyone will have the same not just the same ability, but actually the same process by which they enter into the system to get their N.H.I benefits.
The connection here is, in order to register for national health insurance, you must have your national insurance smart card.
Absolutely.
And so you must now put heat on the National Insurance Board. I shouldn't say heat.
Exactly. I was about to say it's
I
much
shouldn't
more
say
of a
heat.
But,
it's much more of a discussion.
We're comfortable that the National Health and National Insurance Board is doing whatever it has to do to ensure that registration occurs. We have the greatest confidence in Rowena Bethel and her team, so we don't have to put heat on them.
However, someone who is 12 years old cannot get now a smart card. That's my point.
Yeah.
Not right now, but that's what I'm saying. That's our discussions with them right now so that we can modify that. Because before, it wasn't a necessary thing for you to have, whether you had a smart card or you had the yellow, orange card, didn't make a difference because you were still able to access the same benefits for national insurance based on the fact that you had a registration and a card that was given to you. Now, this changes the system. It's going to be essentially purely electronic, and in order for you to be able to access those services, you will need to have the smart card. And in now knowing that, them having the realization, much like we do, we will move forward with a process to getting everyone that smart card.
So, you see, I brought my passport. I'm going to my smart card today.
Exactly. We had that discussion. You are
Yes.
correct.
After I get my national insurance smart card, I can get my national health insurance card.
So there's no national health insurance card. So that would just for us be sort of a duplication and another expense. We're trying to minimize overhead and administrative expenses. So
Because the cards are expensive.
they are
very
expensive,
expensive, yes.
very much so. So the issue is what we're trying to do is take advantage of the systems we already have in place. So because you'll be able to use your national insurance card, then and that will have your information basically embedded with your card, then we will be able to use that to help facilitate the registration for national health insurance as well.
I guess my question really is, after I get my national health, my national insurance smart card, say I get that 4 o'clock today.
Right.
Can I then register for national health insurance?
So you will be able to. You'll be eligible to register for national health insurance. You just won't be able to do it today.
When will I be able to do it?
So as we were discussing, we would hope for that registration process, for that part of the process, which some of us refer to as enrollment, but we would hope for that part of the process to actually occur later in the month to the beginning of February, because what we want to do is make sure we have that database of people who have gotten their NIB smart card available to us, and that's a robust enough database to say, okay, well, we know that this is a large enough eligible population of Bahamians that we can place into our database so that once they come into N.H.I, they will then be able to do the two things that may be required. One is choosing your primary care provider, because remember the first stages of national...
Before we get there,
Sure.
the database already exists.
But it doesn't have everyone in it because everyone doesn't have the smart card. When you go for your smart card, you'll notice that in the application form, there is a significant amount of information that will be required of you, and they take that information and put it into the database. So yes, they have a database right now, but that information doesn't have all the information that we would like to have on each of our beneficiaries. So once we get that information, not just a name and like a date of birth, we need to know, current addresses, we need to know places of employment, all that kind of stuff will for national insurance purposes, get you registered into their smart card system. But once we're able to then have the database for national health insurance, we will then be able to say, now we know what a large portion of that eligible population will be. We can get them signed up, registered with their primary care provider, and we can, if the insurance companies come on, we will also be able to have them choose who their administrator of their health benefits will be. So the private health insurers, the public insurer, they'll be able to make that choice as to where they want to get their benefits delivered. N.H.I is still the entity, the authority through the fund is the entity that will be paying for those benefits, but you will have an administrator who makes sure that you get your benefits delivered, and that would be through that system of the insurers taking the place in that system.
I have a few more questions, but I feel that now we should begin to engage persons in our audience who have other questions. Unless there's something else you wish to bring to the forefront now, I feel like to open the lines at 325-5405 here in Nassau. From the family of islands or anywhere else, our toll-free number is 1-242-300-8255. You can send me emails to tci.darold, D-A-R-O-L-D, Miller @gmail.com. I'm not dropping that TCI.
I see.
Actually, TCI has the model. Well, let me rephrase that.
Stick with a model, not the model. Go
that.
exactly.
When we first started talking about national health insurance years ago, TCI took the model that we were talking about and ran with it. And so they have national health insurance.
They do, sir. Absolutely.
Implemented in the Turks and Caicos
They
Islands.
do.
But our email is tci.darold, D-A-R-O-L-D, Miller @gmail.com. You can send messages, text messages, to 447-9879. That's text messages to 447-9879. Or WhatsApp messages, we will take those as well, to our BTC line-powered line, 447-9879. And
the CEO for that Turks and Caicos model
is from the Bahamas.
She sure is.
I just wanted you to say that.
Yeah. we are talking about
Zanita.
Zanita
Burton?
She's married now.
Zanita Burton?
She's now Burton. She used to be Adderley.
Adderley,
Yep.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And she came out of, I think Dr. Bernard Nottage would have been leading a charge back then for national health insurance.
He was.
Although there was an earlier charge, and you should know more about the genesis of this whole thing for national health insurance in the Bahamas.
It's been with us for a very long time. And we at the Secretariat in particular, Darrell, we're very pleased to see that this is as near as we've come to implementing national health insurance as we've ever been in 30 years. Okay, so and I think we're going to go full steam ahead with this.
We have some questions still from yesterday. Dr. Brennen, that we were unable to answer then
Yes, sir.
because our time was short. But here's someone saying, Mr. Miller, the more your guests speak, the more confused I get. If the first phase registration is free, the second phase, the actual health care, is not. I'm a police officer. How does this affect the coverage we now get? While the idea is good, the government is putting the cart before the horse by rushing this legislation.
Okay. So just in an answer to that, obviously in appreciating the service that our uniformed officers actually provide for the country, I think this is something that we want to make sure that they don't feel disadvantaged about, but we want to also bring them to the realization that given that they are now provided through the government and through the coffers and taxation that already occurs on all of us, they're actually already provided with a high level of health service for them to be able to access. Yes, they have private health insurance that is already paid for by the government and provided to uniformed officers. So they're able to go in the public sector or the private sector to access services, both primary care, secondary, tertiary care services. They're able to access medications, lab tests. All that is already provided for them through the government. So what we are trying to do is basically make sure that we don't have this 2 and 3 tiered level system in the country where everyone else looks at people and say, well, how come those people who work in law enforcement or in the uniformed services are provided with health insurance, but those of us who are on the front line, physicians, nurses, lawyers, whomever, how come teachers, we get some form of coverage, we access the public sector, but we don't get health insurance. Not all public servants get that. And then what about those people? Do I have to be a public servant to be able to access good health care? That shouldn't be a requirement in our country. We should really take it upon ourselves. And while health care is not a right in the country, constitutionally it's not a right, it is something that we have signed on to make sure that we attain the highest attainable standard of health for our entire citizenry and those who are resident in our population, and not select certain populations for them to be able to get health care and ignore everyone else. What we have to do is make sure that we raise everyone's level of their access to health care up to that level that they are currently enjoying. They are able to enjoy it. Their dependents are able to enjoy it. Why can't everyone be at that level? Why do we have to feel as though I should deserve something and others don't deserve it as well? Everyone should be able to be raised to that level. If we talk about improving our health system, it should be improved for everyone. If we improve access, it should improve for everyone. If we decrease the amount that people have to pay down to a level where you don't have to pay anything out of pocket when you access a service, that should apply to everyone. And something some of them feel that others don't really realize is that there are some of them who uniformed officers who need to access medication services. They need to access diagnostic services. Those aren't free. And there are many of them who aren't able to afford even getting those things done because they still require a co-payment or a deductible for them to be able to access those services. We want to introduce a system in place where you don't have to worry about having money at the time you access a service for it to be able to be delivered to you. We want everyone to not have to think, well, do I eat today or do I get my health care? We want you to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to access health care. I'm going to have health service delivery, within my realm of normal thinking and my normal sphere of access, and thus not have to worry about, am I going to have the ability to pay for it? The number one reason around the world for people to go bankrupt is because of health care. We have to change that paradigm. That cannot be the way we continue to operate. And as we have mentioned before, when the Nassau Declaration came out at the heads of government meeting and said that the health of the region is the wealth of the region. We've long been saying in country the health of the nation is the wealth of the nation. We have to believe in that and put our money in that realm because our national development is one that is dependent upon having a healthy people, and we have to address it in that way.
Let's go to Doug on line 2. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, it's something I want to find about the up-to-date national card with the ID with the picture on it. That has an expiry date, so that means then you'll have to pay for it when you come for it again?
No, once it expires, then the way the legislation or sort of the policy is set up at present is that you won't have to pay for it when it comes up. So that is our understanding from National Insurance. That.
Yeah, but my thing is, but why an expiry date?
Because what you have to realize is there are people who die who are currently getting benefits. There are people who are on a work permit who will no longer be on a work permit and they aren't able to show that they're legally resident in the Bahamas. So you do need to make sure that you're verifying people's status on a regular basis so that if they're accessing and benefiting from, service that all of us should be, contributing toward, then we need to make sure that the right people are getting the service.
And let me ask you another thing. Would they ever be using that for an ID? But some places you go, they don't take it as an ID.
That isn't something that I can specifically speak to. I guess it depends on the individual agencies as to whether they will accept those as government-issued IDs or not.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
Which primary care doctors or clinics can we sign up with for national health insurance? What if my regular doctor is not a part of N.H.I? How do I know who to choose from?
So that would be unfortunate if your primary care provider decides that they don't want to be a part of this progressive national interest bearing activity, but everyone has a choice. So if providers decide they don't want to be a part of N.H.I, that is their right because, as professionals, they have a choice. But we would ask and implore as many primary care providers as possible to become a part of the system. And when you go to actually register for N.H.I, whether that's in person when we have the actual physical site set up, or that's online when we have that system available, you'll be able to see the list of providers that are available to you. And if your primary care provider is on that list, then you'll be able to choose them. So that will include general practitioners who qualify. There will be family medicine physicians, internists, pediatricians, your OBGYNs. All of them will be listed as primary care providers. Those who sign up and sign an agreement to provide services under N.H.I, and you'll be able to choose one of them to be your primary care provider.
We have the kind of country, archipelagic in nature, where registration will have to be ubiquitously put. In other words, you got to go to Duncan Town.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go to Black Point. You got to go to Rum Key. Mm-hmm. Are you ready?
The great thing about that is we live in an age where not only are we able to get there, but we can actually bring them to us in the registration system as well.
What do you mean?
Because
I
technology.
ain't coming to Nassau.
No. Listen,
And I ain't got no internet.
that's not true. That's
We
not.
need
That is.
cable in there.
That's absolutely.
BTC in there.
BTC
and I ain't
is
got no
there.
money to pay for the internet.
BTC is there.
You
And
don't have the money
you don't have
to
to.
pay for
You
the internet.
you individually don't have
fact-
to do that.
In fact, I would like for us all to understand that we are not as connected a country as we like to think. We like to think that, hey, you could go online. Well, the person in Crooked Island who don't have no electricity to begin with can't go online, and even if they had the facility to go online, they don't know how to use the computer. They're 85 years old.
So we're not, and I think that's
Are you following me?
I absolutely do.
Okay.
And I think what we are trying to do is say there are ways to go about doing this that doesn't require everyone
Now,
to go online.
We're going to capture that lady who you're talking about at Rumkey, who's 85
Through
years.
national
We'll
insurance.
find a way to make sure that that person benefits from the possibilities of N.H.I.
Talking about the registration.
Yeah, well, they have to be registered to be eligible for it. So we will ensure. I don't want to speak very definitively on what the NIB will do in that regard, but be aware of the concern that you're mentioning, and we will make sure that it is addressed.
Yeah. See, because we have some of these situations where we sit back in these.
No, you're right. You're right.
And we say, oh, you could go online.
And Nassau, the Bahamas is not only Nassau and Freeport, so
But we are
appreciate
not
that.
as connected as we like to think.
But I think the actual statistics actually speak to us being more connected than we actually think. Because when you actually look out there and you actually survey the population, our penetrance of both mobile and internet technologies actually is greater than individually per capita than our population.
You're talking about somebody having 2 phones.
No, I'm just saying not just having 2 phones, but we know that individually, and this isn't to say everyone is going to be accommodated mobilely. What we're saying is for those people who can be accommodated through mobile technologies or the internet, that will be accommodated as well. What we're saying is for those who can't be, we will then have mechanisms or vehicles to get them registered as well.
You're not going to leave that 82-year-old woman that you're talking about in Rumkey or elsewhere. We're not going to leave her out.
Let's
That's
go
the
to
point.
Desmond in Exuma. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, I'm calling in connection. I know on several occasions you have spoken to the point that the first phase would be free. Now, when the second phase does come into play, myself being a private insurance card holder, I still do not know how much I will be paying and when I will be paying it, because you say that we have to go to our politicians and ask them to implement the second phase where we'll begin to pay. I would like to know when that will happen so that I can make a decision on if I want to continue with my private insurance or I want to come a part of this national health insurance. Do you have any information that you can give me in that regard?
Okay, thank you. I don't know if you were able to hear him clearly.
I got some of it, not all of it, but I think the question really spoke to when is it that we see national health insurance, the other stages coming into play as an actual definitive date. And we don't have a definitive date on those. We can't speculate as to when that will happen. But I think what is also important in his question or statement is that people will get to a point where they're making the decision whether they want to continue to have private health insurance or not. What we're giving them the advantage of is saying, you get to make that choice. You will have the ability to have access to good health care not just through private health insurance, but also through NHI. And in getting that service through NHI, you get to make a choice to say, do I want to continue to pay the premiums that it requires to have private health insurance, or do I continue just with national health insurance? I think that is a huge plus for us to give people that choice. And knowing that you have that choice is bigger than just being able to say a definitive date, but it allows you to choose not just do I want to have private health insurance, but what type of private health insurance do I want to have? We refer to this usually as supplementary or top-up benefits, but as NHI rolls into primary care services, and if you presently have private health insurance, you have the choice. Do I want to continue to get primary care services both through national health insurance and through my private health insurer, or can I save some money and change my private health insurance plan to not have to cover primary care, but only cover those services that are not covered by NHI? That alone should save people money, because you don't have to put out a specific contribution toward NHI, and you're decreasing the amount you have to pay for private health insurance. That alone saves you money along the way. Whenever NHI gets to the point where we are getting increases in the number of services getting into the secondary and tertiary care services, what we will then see is that there will be likely a requirement for contributions to be put in at that point. Those contributions will likely never be at the same level number-wise as in how much you're paying for your private health insurance at the same level that we currently pay for PHI. That would never happen. But we do